We are finally here, hundreds of participants later, and we've narrowed it down to only 2. After today's episode, we will have our next diamond. Ooh, goosebumps. The final leg of the competition is the interview. Costa has called his colleagues from across industries to help him pick who the next diamond will be through a series of questions in a job interview. Do keep in mind that this is as a real job interview can be and has to be treated as such. Our interview panel for Season 6 consists of Sandy Chimpala, CEO of Tech Trends Zambia, Norina Chiteba, founder Coupes, and Samba Yonga, who is a communications expert and media innovator. First in the den is Luendo, or the best.
Today is not my show. The judges will take it up and Lady Norina will lead. All the best.
Thank you.
Good morning, Luendo.
Good morning.
Welcome. Please relax. Be comfortable.
Okay.
We're having a conversation today.
Right.
A very, very important conversation. A conversation about your future. And just to kickstart very quickly, because some of us might not have a little, just want a bit of detail about who Luendo is. Like under a minute.
Under a minute.
How would you describe Luendo?
I would describe Luendo as very outgoing, very adventurous, pretty optimistic, and definitely passionate about everything that I dabble into. Yes.
Fantastic. So we're here, we're looking for that diamond, obviously, but what makes you the right candidate? What makes you think you're the right person for Diamond TV?
That's a very good question. What makes me think I'm the right person? I would say my optimism, my ability to be adaptable, versatile, and all around hardworking, also very patient and dedicated to shining as a diamond.
To shining as them. So before I hand over to Sandy, when you talk about adaptable, what does that mean?
Adaptability, I can fit into any situation. I can try to mold myself and just basically be the surrounding as well as what's necessary at hand.
An example of when you had to flow into that space where you had to adapt. Do you have an example, something that you can share?
Yes, during the tasks, I had to have an interview with Mr. Kasaka. I tried my very best to adapt into the different perspective that he gave me as I asked him questions, and he sort of, I wouldn't say go off course, but had a surprise element which I had to adapt. I had to think quickly, think on my feet, and use my creativity to sort of bring the interview back.
Okay, thank you so much. Sandy?
All right, so now we're switching to digital media because that's my passion, right? Diamond TV is known on social media, right? And obviously now most people are getting their information from there. How would you then grow this platform for Diamond TV? Obviously using your own brand, because now you do become a brand once you become, the diamond of the season. But you would also be, required to make content for this. So how would you tackle that? Like growing both brands, yours and Diamond TV, and then also how quickly would you be able to create content on the go? So tapping into adaptability that you spoke of.
Well, with trying to create content, I would have to do a little research because I am aware that Gen Z is sort of taking over the digital space, which might not really fit into current affairs and all the serious stuff. So I would do a lot of research on how to engage both so that both parties win. Because at the end of the day, the tech trends is literally about Gen Z, but I would definitely do my research to make sure that current affairs and news and information that people need is still relevant in the content space.
Okay, and speaking of, Gen Zs, if you had to give me a digital first content idea, what would you create targeting 18 to 25-year-olds in Zambia?
And this is for news or entertainment?
Social media.
Social media.
Social media platforms.
Okay, so I'm a DJ. I would incorporate maybe having my equipment and sort of calling, the younger generation, pulling them to the content with music as well as the aesthetic of groove, because I do understand they do love that, and content on social media is basically about that.
Okay. And then lastly, we're going into a very big year, which is election period. I think that's one of the biggest things that will be happening in 2026. So with media, there's always an element of preparation. So what kind of content do you think would be relevant for social media leading up to election period? What do you think is the kind of content that would be, consumed by 18 to 25-year-olds using the same age range?
Accurate information, probably provided in a manner that is easy for them to digest, which would be making it very fast-paced, very relevant, and also just easy to consume.
Okay.
The questions are not meant to be easy, and that is the idea. Luendo seems to be holding up well, but how long can she keep it up?
Thank you, Luendo, for all your interesting observation. And as you know, a journalist is society's observer. So you look around and see what's happening in your community at national level, but also globally. Yes. So that's one of the things you'll be required to do as a presenter, but also as a journalist. So I'd like to find out, what do you think are some of the most underrepresented stories in Zambia right now?
I would say, just a moment to think about that.
Take your time. Even at a personal level.
At a personal level, okay. I would say mental health, and not just the cases that we hear among the youths, which is drug abuse, alcohol abuse, maybe issues like bipolar, schizophrenia, because a lot of times I've heard a lot of stories, even in my area where I live, about how these teenagers are taking drugs and that's leading them to do things that they do, but it turns out they just misdiagnosed. They need a better understanding of how their mind works and things like that.
So a focus on health issues.
Yes.
Okay. And as Sandy said, we're leading up to the general elections, and as we know, it gets very tense. So as a social observer, journalist, and somebody who'd probably be producing the news, you have to be wary around ethical issues, about how we're reporting issues and news. So what do you think would be the most things to look out for?
I would say truthfulness, accuracy, objectivity, and also a lot of confidence in giving out what is being observed.
We do have, people would say that they work very well under pressure. And, and now when the pressure comes, we're like, we spoke about under pressure, what's going on here?
What's going on?
What's going on here? So really, like we're talking about breaking news, right? And then under pressure, how would you be able to manage that? And without maybe even talking about, the breaking news, how would you handle, like the pressure? Because, it comes with pressure. We could all be smiling, but when things are happening, like this pressure, how do you work under such pressure?
I would say teamwork, trusting that the cameraman would give me enough confidence to keep my composure. Also, maybe the producer, the scriptwriter, to ensure that I have adequate information to give a story that is breaking.
Okay, but then that would be external. I'm talking about you, as opposed to, relying on the camera person to give you the composure they want. They're behind the camera. So things are happening, you have to say something. How would you handle that?
I would just breathe. To be honest, I would breathe. I would breathe one breath at a time and just do it.
Would it help if we give you a practical example?
Yes, please.
Okay. If you're given a tip about corruption involving a political figure, how would you go about breaking it, verifying it, and then collaborating with your editorial team?
Research. I would start with my research. If I have any on hand, I would make sure to double check it and ensure that it is good enough to be told. Yes.
Sandy.
Okay. I think my question is around social media, but also a follow-up to the previous question about breaking news. Sorry, because this is what will be happening with Diamond. It will always be breaking news. But if you're somewhere, you're far from your camera crew, because you don't move with them 24/7, but it's 3 a.m., something happens, you're called, or it's near you, so you're there. How are you going to handle that story? How do you package that story? What's the quickest way you could do that? They are asleep, maybe.
So I'd basically use my phone to capture if there's anything that needs to be filmed or shot. I would use my phone to do that. If I need to do interviews on the spot, I would obviously again use my phone and try to get as much information I can on hand. Yes.
Just as a follow-up, is it possible to tell a TV story using the phone?
I've learnt it is.
How?
How?
Because I believe this was part of the training you underwent. Yeah.
So filming it in a way that can be broadcast on TV, meaning the content would have to be shot landscape. That's what I've learnt.
One question Costa must ask is how Luendo is willing to switch from being a radio personality to a TV personality.
Okay, so Mr. Mwansa, I have to use what you said yesterday, as it was very lovely to hear that you mentioned I have a strong aura and personality, as well as the camera loving me and me being able to shine when I'm on the camera. So I think that just goes without saying that I definitely would do that, obviously with a lot more effort and a lot more technique added to it, which takes practice. But I definitely feel that that is something that I could easily transition into.
So my last one from your CV. You graduated from Zamcom in 2020?
Yes.
And you were with QFM in 2017, from 2015 to 2017, right?
Yes.
And then you were with Money FM for a year?
Yes.
And then you were a DJ with the Social Monali for a year?
Yes.
And then you were with Rock FM for some months?
Mm-hmm.
And you were with Lusaka Radio for some months?
Mm-hmm.
As an employer, this tells me something.
And consistency.
Yes. How many weeks will you be at Diamond?
How many weeks is forever?
Oh. Okay.
But the CV doesn't show
That's so bad.
That was smart, but okay.
Yeah, but seriously. Yeah, that's a very, very important question.
It seems you don't keep your job.
It's not that I don't keep my job, it's just that a situation happened at Lusaka Radio that prompted me to leave, but I was actually poached from Rock FM to join Lusaka Radio. I was going to stay at Rock for a very long time, but the situation was a better offer, so I decided to take it, but then something happened, so I had to leave.
So what will happen when a better situation arises?
You just have to keep me, Mr. Mwansa.
That's very important, actually, because we need to know what makes you stay. That's usually the question. What makes you stay? So if you became part of Diamond TV, what will make you stay? Is it the job itself because you want to learn, you want to improve, you want to become the best in the business, or you are there because the pocket is
the money?
Yeah. So what makes you stay? What would you say makes you stay? What makes you move from one opportunity to another? Yeah.
Okay, so what would make me stay at Diamond would be the brand itself. I would love to grow with the brand and expand it in a way that adds value to the company and to myself as well, because by working there, I will be improving. That's a given, and I would love to be on TV and work on it and sort of become a household name as Diamond has been as well. So to be fair, that would definitely be the reason that I would stay, is to work with the brand and just blossom further. What
does money mean for you?
Well, money in this economy definitely means having something in the pocket for everyday's expenses, life expenses and things like that. But it certainly is something to think about, but it's not necessarily the end goal, because there is other avenues that I can always venture into that won't conflict Diamond to make money.
Lady Norena, if I may, talking about religion, you say you sound to be so strong on religion.
Not very strong, just
So tell us a little bit more about that. When you say you post about religion, is it Christianity or?
Yes, Christianity, basically Bible verses.
Okay.
Nothing too deep.
So back to my conflict of interest. Mm-hmm. How would you handle, as a journalist or as an interviewer, somebody who is a guest but does not align with your religious beliefs?
How would I handle that? I'd have to be professional and also bring in diversity, because
professional is a big word. I'm interested in how would you handle?
How would I handle? An example?
Yeah, because you have a belief in your religion, and then you're interviewing somebody who believes the opposite, doesn't believe it. Would you be biased?
No, I wouldn't be biased, and I wouldn't try to bombard them with my beliefs. I wouldn't try to engage them to side with me. I would basically give a neutral understanding of what I believe and hope that they can digest that.
Why so?
It's not really my place to tell a guest what to believe in. So I believe being neutral is what works.
And if this guest believes that murdering people is the correct thing?
Why am I interviewing this guest?
That's part of being a journalist.
Surprise element. You find out during the interview that he thinks murder is okay.
I think that would be very interesting. But just to follow up, because we're about to wind down, Luendo. We've had an amazing conversation with you. You did speak about the fact, when talking about your values and the brand, Mr. Mata said something, and you indicated that you would align to where the where the pocket is, like where it all happens. So in an event that perhaps the Diamond TV stands on certain values that you do not align with, would you still stay?
Can I give an easy way out?
Would you still stay?
I'll cross the bridge when I get there.
We would like to know, but we'll come to the end. But before we go, you did mention very quickly that you've been able to demonstrate ability to build relationships with industry professionals and communities. I'm very big on relationships. I'm very big on networking. How were you able to do this? Because you're saying you were able to demonstrate that ability. How have you been able to build those relationships and even just network? And how important is that to an individual and also to the brand Diamond TV?
Okay, so I have been able to do that over the past few years, is having a keen interest on whoever it is that I would like to maintain contact with, communicating about relevant topics, also not involving too much of the personal life aspect into the work aspect, so keeping a firm stance on work as well as networking and just maintaining that level of professionalism, but as well as adding the life element with it.
Okay, Luendo, thank you so much. We've come to the end of our conversation. Anything that would like to add in, team?
So 2 things for me. The first is, would you tell us what your biggest weakness is?
My biggest weakness? Okay, so my biggest weakness is actually so crazy. I tend to not be vocal. but when I'm on the camera and when I'm on radio is when I'm the most vocal. That is my biggest weakness.
That seems to have gone well. High energy in the interview room. But is that enough to get Lweendo the job? Lillian's interview is next. Let's see how the panel likes her.
Lillian, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Again, congratulations for making the top 2. You should be very proud of yourself.
Thank you
just
very
you
much.
sitting here and being in the top 2, well done, well done. And so we're going to have a conversation because obviously now we have to determine who's going to make it to the top 1, if it's possible. Like that's that top person who's going to be there. And so the conversation will flow. So please feel comfortable. Think of it as a conversation, not an interview. All right.
All right.
Yeah? Are we
Yes,
good?
yes,
Very quickly, under a minute, who is Lillian?
Lilian Chipeso is a very confident person. I would like to consider myself as a very motivated human. I am always learning. I like to learn every day. I adapt quickly, and also I believe in working with people because people have different strengths and weaknesses, and also people have different ideas and are knowledgeable in different ways. So I like to put myself in positions where I can learn and work with people so that I can contribute. It helps. Learning with, working with people allows me to also just grow because I'm always on a path to self-discovery and learning. Over the years in my media journey, I have been able to work and gain knowledge as a news reporter, and I've also been able to receive recognition by winning various awards in environmental, storytelling, energy, as well as business. And I am very passionate about the media industry, and hence why I am here. So in a nutshell, I would say that is who Lillian is.
That is really Lillian. So Lillian is here today, top 2, about to join brand Diamond TV. What makes Lillian a suitable candidate?
I have been able to do my research, and I have actually seen the quality of reporters and also TV presenters that Diamond has. And I like to believe one of the things that is very noticeable about the people that work for Diamond Media is their level of confidence and self-awareness, and also the ability to deliver on their work. And I like to think of myself as befitting of those values. And so I believe that is why I should be able to join the team. And also my expertise and experience, I believe I am the fit candidate, and I'll be able to contribute not only to my personal growth or my career advancement, but also to be able to contribute to the growth of the company.
So your strategy is to blend in?
No, I bring, not to blend in, I bring with me also my own creativity in terms of storytelling and just being myself. In terms of my strengths, I can be able to produce new ideas. I am also a very good planner. So in as much as blending in is expected, but it's because I understand that it is the best or nothing. And that is why it's not blending in, but rather me understanding that where I'm bringing myself, I need to fit certain criteria.
Okay, well, believe me, we don't want you to blend in. We want you to stand out. You know, that's why you're in the top 2 standing.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so, aside from the TV, so I'm going to focus on social media. I need to know how fluent are you with social media usage? So maybe tell me what platforms are familiar to you, and not just that you understand them, but you know how to use them. So what social media platforms are these?
YouTube. I've been able to create content, personal content for YouTube, but also very familiar with Facebook and LinkedIn. Not very good with TikTok, but I'm also there. But in terms of, I understand that because I am more into professional growth, I think I find LinkedIn to be the social media platform that allows me to also just learn and tap into people's thoughts in relation to how you can grow. So.
Okay, so that's on a personal level, but now you're joining a brand that also makes use of digital marketing platforms or digital platforms generally. So how would you grow such ones? Because it's okay for Diamond to be on TikTok, even though it doesn't work for you, but Diamond needs to be everywhere because they're, you know, a media outlet. So then how would you help grow their social media branding or standing?
Okay. First of all, I understand that for me to contribute to the growth of a brand, which is Diamond Media, I need to also just uphold myself in a way that is befitting and is not tarnishing the image of the brand, but also being able to understand the demographics that is on TikTok and speaking to their level of content that they consume. And so just because I do not participate on TikTok does not mean that I do not understand that the content that is on TikTok is fast-paced. You cannot take content that is slow-paced and expect people on TikTok to understand. So I understand that Diamond Media also is on various social media platforms, and that is expected of the content that is curated and also produced.
Part of the process is also to understand your journalistic curiosity and your style, so to speak. So could you share with us how you monitor the news?
How I monitor the news is I dissect in terms of listening to almost every media house in terms of knowing when do they air their news bulletins, and also to understand the storytelling, because with news you can be at one function but there's different angles to a news story. So being able to pay attention to how different media houses dissect their in-style news writing and also the delivery of angles, it helps me to understand and pick which news is accurate and which media house to follow. So because if there's a situation, people have died, Diamond TV will tell it differently from how another media outlet will be able to tell it. So monitoring media outlets in terms of how they tell the story and the stories that are being told.
Okay, and what do you think are the topics that stay with you the most? How often? When you say you monitor the news, how often do you monitor the news?
Almost every day, and the stories that stay with me are human-centered stories in terms of there's a lot of stories that there's a press briefing, he said, she said, in as much as that is information being delivered to the audience, but it's also important to understand that as a journalist, my work is about informing the people and speaking, being bridging a gap between the policymakers and also the community. So speaking, because community members are not able to speak for themselves in most cases, and that is why a journalist comes in. So human-centered stories are stories that actually stick most to me.
Okay, so speaking of that, one last thing. Did you vote in the last elections?
I actually did.
You did?
I did.
Okay.
We won't ask you who you
No,
voted.
exactly. We won't ask you who you voted.
I actually did.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that you voted.
A very strong start for Lillian, commanding the room. This should earn her some points with the panel.
When you look at your CV, I think you spent a lot of time doing Wizon, and then moved to a station manager, okay? So you're coming back, you might be coming back into a role where now you are no longer station manager, but now back to presenting and perhaps even producing. How will you be able to do that switch?
Okay, so even when I stepped into the role of a station manager, it was for my personal development. I think for me, personal development is one of my most centered things that I carry with me. And so moving back from Wizon, moving back into presenting again, it shouldn't be any problem, because also I think after having served as station manager, it's positioned me in a place where I actually understand now media better than I did, just being in the background and waiting for instructions and informations. But now I understand that away from just deadlines that I thought you need to meet deadlines, there's also the need for you to make sure that your content is bringing in money. So it allows me to understand the media space better than I did before.
I don't know if my job is safe.
Remember the Diamond Lilian Media in a few years.
But before Sandy comes in, there's something very interesting I saw under your leadership and personal attributes. You say you're a strategic and analytical decision maker. Give us an example.
An example would be something that happened during DPS. When we got to top 6, there was an altercation that happened where the ladies, after the elimination, all of us were not happy with one person who
snitched.
Yes, because when you're working with someone and you feel why are you telling Mr. Mwansa things that are not accurate? Yeah, but also just after that situation, we did sit down, and that's how I ended up being team lead, because there was a conversation that was had where I just said, look, at the end of the day, it's work first before emotions. In as much as, yes, emotions are important, but then you cannot deliver if all you're focused on is, I do not like this person, so I shouldn't do this thing. But also acknowledging that emotions are valid, and that's how there was also an exchange of apologies and acceptance. So being analytical in my leadership skills is understanding that people are different and not treating them in collectively as a whole. You need to understand that this person, maybe they would like to be apologized to before we can move forward. And as we move forward, we're moving forward because there's one goal that we must attain, and that is to make sure that things move in as much as there's friction. Because at the end of the day, people who work together will disagree. But what's important is how you move forward and you get the job done.
Okay.
For me, sorry, you mentioned something that really interested me. I love money. And you said in your role, you learned to understand that it's not just about the content needs to make money. Give me an idea, if we were to employ you, that you would bring onto the station as part of content strategy to bring us money.
I would say the issue of, the government under the Ministry of Energy has rather a target of achieving 100% rural electrification by 2030. But as we stand, there's little information on how that is moving. So creating a program that is talking about rural electrification, and that will attract now RIA and the Ministry of Energy to come on board and sponsor, because then not only will it allow them to tell the stories that they are doing in that regard and expand the electrification process, but it is also going to allow us to sell the idea of them being the sponsor of such a program, and that will mean us selling airtime and getting money in return.
Okay, awesome. Well, congratulations. I see you've won multiple awards. There are 5 awards listed here. So I guess you know what you're doing. We'll take it as that. But then, obviously, as time goes by, like with every industry, I think there's always going to be changes or new resources that are needed. Right now there's new technology that is helping the media space. But for you as Lillian, if you had to be hired as the next Diamond TV presenter, what kind of resources would you want Mr. Mwansa and team to allocate to you to help you do your job better? And that's coming from, I've been doing this for so long, and these are the things that I've lacked where I'm coming from. So if I come into this company, these are the things that I would require to make me do my job more efficiently.
I think some of the things that I've noticed in my previous workspaces, to answer your question, has been maybe shortage in terms of logistics, where you find that there's maybe 5 people in the newsroom. Maybe there's 1 vehicle that needs to move people around, and there's deadlines to meet. So I think availability of logistics, which I believe shouldn't be a problem to Mr. Mwansa. So yeah, availability of logistics.
I have just 2 quick questions. Thank you so much for your answers. Everyone has an internal bias, and even as a journalist, you have to understand and be able to analyze that as you're producing news. Would you share with us your internal bias, if you can, and how you'd handle that in a professional space like the editorial newsroom?
Mostly it's with politicians. I don't agree with their manifestos sometimes, but I also understand that as a journalist, objectivity is one of the key elements that I must possess. It's not about how I feel about a situation, it's about, am I being objective in my delivery of information? And are people getting the information correctly, and are they being informed? So I would say politicians mostly, but also it's not about me, it's about delivering information and being objective in my delivery.
Okay, great. And following up on that quickly, since Mr. Mwansa says he likes money, and you created a program for him that would make money, what do you think Diamond TV is missing in terms of programming, and what kind of program would that be?
Maybe, and to answer to that, I think that's why the last project that we did work on as Top 5 was a food magazine show, in terms of bringing in the women to also relax on a Sunday afternoon and say, okay, maybe there's a recipe that I can watch today. I've been watching the news, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. Just to make sure that's clear. But also just content that allows women on a Sunday to sit and learn a recipe and to laugh about a mixture of food. I think that's the programming.
Lillian, should breaking news always be bad news?
No, it shouldn't. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't always be bad news.
Okay, and how would you handle breaking news under pressure? You've spoken about managing crisis communications, and also how would you manage like live breaking news? You're sitting, there's an interview and somebody slips a note, this is what has just happened, you have to speak about it. How would you handle that?
Okay, let's say we're talking about sports, and the director tells me, you know, you have to cross the State House. The president needs to deliver a statement right now. Of course, you acknowledge that you've been talking what I've been talking about in terms of the show. Then immediately say, and unfortunately, we have to end the show on this note. To catch us next time, as we have to cross over now to State House, where the president is delivering a national address. So being able to acknowledge what you've been talking about in the moment, so that you don't just cut a viewer and you leave them wondering, how did we move from sports, Zambia losing against Nigeria, to us now at State House? So there's need to acknowledge what you've been talking about and acknowledge that you're moving into a breaking news item, and this is the person who's about to deliver the information.
Thank you, Lillian. So we're about to wind down.
I know time is not with us, but I just need to add these in, very important. So Lillian, you've practiced in the field as a reporter.
Yes, I have.
So before I ask you this, have you ever been given money by a source?
Transport refund? Yes, I have.
I didn't say what it was, I just
qualify.
You've been given transport refund.
Yes, I have.
Interesting. What is your view of journalists getting transport refunds when, like, you answered her question that Mr. Mwansa should provide resources? So I've given you a vehicle and a driver. Why are you getting a transport refund?
I think in most cases that have been found in such a scenario, it's been the press briefing is done and the public relations walks in and says, no, journalist, this is your transport refund. But I think I also get where you're coming from, because these are conversations that have happened in terms of that is now complicating and diluting the media practice. Because then if you've given me money, Mr. Mwansa, and tomorrow there's a story that you're involved in corrupt practices, there's very big chance that I will spike this story and I will not tell it because Mr. Mwansa gave me money at some point.
So where I'm going actually is this. What is your standpoint or your belief around transport refunds? And then the PR person now calls you, Lillian, I didn't see my story.
It's very important to create rapport with public relations. Some public relations managers understand that it's not up to them for a story to make it to the news.
I've given you transport refund.
Yes.
Where's my story?
And also, it depends, Mr. Mwansa, with the situation of how the money was given to me.
The panel is not holding back with interrogating her CV and her responses. The room is getting heated.
My final question is this. With social media and technology, I think she asked in terms of resources. What is your opinion about where media journalism is going with artificial intelligence and aspects of fact-checking and fake news?
We risk having very lazy reporters, ones who do not verify. And
You wouldn't use AI? You don't use AI?
No, I don't. I have never used in my story writing or storytelling, yes. But I think we risk laziness in terms of the story being told, because then it's easy. Just type 10 people have died in Kamwala and AI will give you the whole story. But also it's important to understand that in as much as it can be helpful in terms of information, it's very important that we still continue and verify, because verification of information is what we do as journalists. It's why we must be accurate. If you do not verify, then you cannot be accurate.
Yeah.
Lillian, do you have any question or questions for us?
I actually do have a question for you, Mr. Mwansa.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
I do. After spending a month plus now at Diamond during DPS, something that I noticed is that it's mainly dominated by the male folk. And my only question is, what measures have been put in place by yourself and Diamond Media to ensure that there's a sense of safety and protection for the female employees?
Interesting. So obviously there's a code of conduct amongst other things. We have regular talks around issues of harassment. There's policies around it, and line managers and supervisors are well aware, as well as staff do have regular engagements of talking about that. We've got zero tolerance to harassment and safety. Not only, I always say this because more recently there were trainings for safety of female journalists in the newsroom. I've also said it must be safety of every employee. Even men can be harassed. Yeah. But I love it that we have an all-female top 10, all-female top 5. The challenge is to you women. I want to see more women in transmission. We only have one female on camera. We don't have females on graphics. So for us, the rule is if you're competent, you qualify. I think the gender issue is not the issue, the aspect. It's the quality.
And that's a wrap on Lillian and the competition altogether. After the break, we crown our next diamond. What a session. Lillian and Luendo have just survived the corporate jaws of an interview panel for the Diamond TV Presenter Search Season 6. The panelists are now deliberating with Costa on who they think is the preferred candidate. After this episode, and in a few minutes, we will know who the next diamond is.
Mr. Mwansa, I think you touch on something that's really important, and I think this is an opportunity for Diamond TV to take a thought leadership role in that there's such huge assumptions around media and what the media personality looks like.
What
a media personality should look like physically, or how they should act, or how they should engage. And I think you see that with the previous one, that she's already made the assumption that she's got some kind of advantage as a result of that.
You said it.
You said it to her, Costa.
And I think this is something we've talked about even personally, is that there's a huge gap in like real journalistic excellence in our sector, and we really need to do something about that. And I see her as somebody leading that with the backing of Diamond TV.
She had my attention
From the jump.
from the beginning. That's it.
And it will show. It will show. Beyond the fluff and whatever that people are used to.
If you don't take her, I will for my media house. But you're gonna pay for it.
Exactly. I'm even thinking about her like, who pays still this one?
Like, how can I,
Okay, Malama.
I think we're good.
Thank you, judges. Thank you so much. Lweendo
Yes.
and Lillian,
Yes, Mr. Mwansa.
welcome to the final announcement. The judges and I had a time to interview both of you, and we looked at your CVs, we listened to your answers, and a decision has been made with the help of the external judges. Before I give you the results of that decision, I'd just like to hear from you, both of you, since you've made it into the top 2. What what does the DPS experience mean for you, Luendo?
The DPS experience for me means that I have encountered a lot of situations that will transform the way that I think, the way that I perform, the way that I see people, and also just the way that I take on everyday life and work as well. It's been mind-boggling. It's been slightly traumatizing, but it's been worth it.
The pressure, how would you describe the long working hours?
The long working hours, kind of fun, but slightly tiresome. That was something fun to leave the studios at like 6 a.m. in the morning. That's pretty cool to me. So pressure, yes, made me want to cry a couple of times, made me get an attitude, but I managed to maneuver.
What do you think has been your biggest lesson or win out of this whole experience?
Teamwork. Even though it's a competition, at the end of the day, teamwork really does make the dream work.
Interesting. Lillian, describe your experience. What has DPS meant to you?
It's taught me things about myself that I never knew about myself, which is very strange because sometimes you tend to think I know myself, but no, not even close. And also just working with different people, it also taught me, I think one of the things it taught me about myself, DPS that being, is that I can easily just cry, which is very, which is very strange. But I think that's also emotions, and teamwork actually has been the most profound thing for me. Because in as much as it's a competition, there were moments where we would ask each other and go to each other for advice. I'm not sure about this, can you help me? And people were very receptive and accommodating and also very helpful. So it's just amplifying the fact that to really make it, you do need a team.
Interesting, great. So I'll say this again, I'm sure you are anxious to hear the result. But this means a lot for me, and I'll keep on saying it. I'm actually the one who's nervous now.
Oh.
Because for one of you it will be good news, for the other it will be bad news.
Yeah.
What we do here at DPS, I keep on saying, is not just about content and TV. It must impact, like you've said, life. It must help you discover yourself. But the most difficult thing why I say I'm nervous is because out of the hundreds that audition every year, I'm given the task to only pick one. And there's so much immense talent that you get to see from the Copper Belt, Lusaka, and you really want to give young people an opportunity. If I can employ 20 or 10 or 2, then I would. But those are the rules of the competition. Reaching the top 2 should tell you something about who you are. And I'm going to give you personal feedback as to how we've arrived at this with the judges, because it's been task and then the final interview. Let me start with you. Like you said, the show has taught you things about yourself, and as we've seen you week in, week out, there's been a lot of development and a lot of improvement. Obviously, you do have the journalism background. You've worked in the newsroom. You are studying for journalism. It continues to show us that your strength and probably you're best fitted for probably journalism and current affairs. And so even if you don't win, we don't know, I'll be announcing shortly. I think that is the strength where we see, and you need to improve on that. I think you're on the right path with what you're studying and what you're doing. You need to be proud of yourself because you've handled yourself well, and I think you need to basically just look at the pitfalls of research and diversifying the portfolio away from current affairs and polishing yourself more and more. That's what diamonds are all about. We say it's about diamonds in the rough and polishing, but well done, and you've put an impressive performance to come to the top 2.
Thank you.
So you're a winner still for making to the top 2. Luendo, again, like I said, you come out with the fact that you are very eloquent, you're very articulate in terms of your communication and well-spoken, and I did say that you've got a good camera presence, and obviously your strength or interests may not be so much politics or current affairs. There's nothing wrong with that, and in fact, I think we need to stop using the word the less serious topics. I think we need to just talk about them as diverse content. I mean, that's what spices up life. And so I like that about you, and I think those are the strengths that you need to focus on. But again, if you get an opportunity, which you've already had, to work in the media space, it's the aspect of that diversity that I'm telling her, to try and look at your research ability, the ability to understand the content. It's one thing to have the presence, but the content is what will amplify that presence. You understand, you really know what you're talking about. But again, it was a competition, very strong contenders for you to make it into the top 2. Again, you've shown us that you're a powerhouse, and whatever the result will be today does not mean that you're not a winner. I'll say that again. Because you're in the top 2, I think you are both winners.
Thank you.
I've finished. You don't want to give me a moment to have a water?
Oh, today you need the water.
Okay. So, ladies, the judges and I sat and we consulted, and a decision has been made rather. The winner of the Diamond TV Presenter Search Season 6 is none other than Lillian. You are the winner. Luendo, congratulations. Well done. But the judges made a decision out of the interview that Lillian. TV lights flashing bright in the night, I shine so bright. Congratulations, Lillian.
Thank you so much.
Well done, Luendo. Congratulations. Something for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, your DPS Season 6 winner, Lillian. After 100 hours of work and restless nights and early mornings, 1,000 shot down ideas and 1,000 knocks, she emerges victorious.
You are looking for, so watch me come. Every facet cut to gleam. In your eyes I am the dream. From the rough to the shine. Come and find this gem divine. Can't be wrong, I take my place. Feel the power and the grace. Now here I come. I am Diamond. Yay! Yay!
And here is where we call it. The Diamond TV Presenter Search is a platform to nurture and grow Zambian talent. And we're so glad that you are part of the journey. Special thanks to our sponsors and partners this year. We truly appreciate the support. Until next time, I've been your host, Tapiwa Ngoma. I'll see you out there.
Every heartbeat syncs with the rhythm of the night. Dancing in the glow, let my spirit take flight. With every step I take, I embrace the chance to